Why people are leaving Canada as of 2023?
There are a lot of reasons why people are leaving Canada.
From the time that you moved in 4 years ago up till now, can you talk a little bit about the high cost of living in Canada and especially the new immigrants coming in?
Cost of living in Canada is insane.
Hello, everyone, and once again, welcome to Presenting Canada to the World. And there is no one better to present Canada than Wiz Queen. And it took a long time and a lot of communication to actually get her on board to come on this platform. So we are all very privileged. And Wiz Queen came to Canada about 5 years ago, and she's currently a Canadian citizen. So in this interview, we're going to be focusing on her journey from Nigeria all the way to Canada and her experience in Canada. And she has one of the most popular videos about why people are leaving Canada, and we're going to touch on that. So, Wiz Queen, without any further delay, can you tell the audience about yourself and your journey to Canada so far?
Absolutely sure. I'm Wiz Queen or Bisola. My first name is actually Bisola, but not a lot of people know my first name. So I always try to tell people, oh, yeah, I'm Bisola and I'm Nigerian. I moved to Canada in 2019, September precisely. So it's actually 4 years. I'm not up to 5 years in Canada
Okay,
yet.
okay.
Yeah, and I'm also a Canadian citizen now. I've worked in different sectors and areas in Canada, and I've gained lots of experience. I love to share content on social media on finance, entrepreneurship, and lifestyle, and precisely about my experience living in Canada. So, because I'm living here, I have to tell people how life is in Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Why Canada though? I mean, watching your videos, you're a very prominent person back in Nigeria. You own your own business. You have people working for you. Why Canada?
That's a very interesting question because I was actually considering going to the US, but Canada had a better offer for me, I should say. If I wanted to go to the US, the option I had was to go as a student. Then I would obtain my master's degree. Then after that, then I would start to apply for jobs or find a job that would sponsor me to get work visa before applying for my green card. So
Mm,
that seemed like a longer route. But then for Canada, I could become a permanent resident right from my own country and move here permanently. That just
mm.
seemed like the wiser choice for me, and I just went for it.
Wow,
That was
wow, 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 wow. And spending 4 years in Canada, though, I know. Tell me about your journey so far. How was the first year trying to adjust as a new immigrant, trying to adapt, and all the winters? And, tell me a little bit about your first year.
Yeah, of course, of course. My first year definitely was hard.
Mm,
I came around the time when not so long we went into lockdown for COVID-19, and
mm,
it was so hard to make friends. And coming into Canada, I had no friends, no family. It was just literally me, and I was
wow.
literally 23 at that time. So it's like you're so young coming out to figure out your life all by yourself in a country that is
Yeah.
literally no man's land. You have nobody here. So it was
Mm,
definitely really challenging. I think if you go to school, then you
mm,
can make friends with your classmates or colleagues, and then you can
mm,
slowly integrate. But if you come in as a PR, it's like you're
mm,
going straight into workforce and nobody prepares you for that.
mhm,
But
mhm,
it was very challenging, I must say. I wouldn't take that away. But I would say one of the ways I was able to overcome that challenge would be trying to put myself out there, trying to connect with people. I took advantage of social media and I connected with people online. Then when the restriction was lifted, I met
mm,
people in person. I built relationship from there on, and I also
mm.
made sure to stay in touch with my friends back home, just because you need them. They've always been there for you, and now that you're in a new country, there will always be times where you're frustrated and you
Mm.
just need somebody that feels like family to talk to. So yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes,
how I was
yes, yes.
supposed to manage it then.
Wow, 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 wow. It's amazing. So now, 4 years into Canada, you have seen the bad, you have seen the ugly,
I've seen the good.
you see the good, you see everything. You made a very interesting, compelling video about a year or so ago about why people are leaving Canada. And I would like to talk to you more about this. Why people are leaving Canada as of 2023?
There are a lot of reasons why people are leaving Canada. A lot of reasons. Even till now, the number of people leaving Canada is insane. People just think a lot of people are moving into Canada just because of migration. But I always tell people Canada is only appealing to people from third world country. If you have a strong passport, you're from Europe countries or you're from America, Canada will just be like, okay, so what's special about it to you? But if you're coming from a third world country where you don't have as much opportunity, you don't have
Mm,
as much resources, then
mm,
Canada is very appealing to you, and you're like, yes, you are
mm,
impressed, you're amazed. But
mm,
over time, when people settle in Canada and they become Canadian citizens, or even before they become Canadian citizens, they start to realize that this is really not what I ordered. This is not what I expected. What I ordered is so totally different from what I'm getting so far. And I think the media presents Canada to be this perfect country.
mm,
Everything is all gloomy, like everything is all beautiful, roses
mm,
and sunshine. Nothing bad happens here,
mm,
and that makes people have this high expectations when they come here. But
mm,
then I've spoken to a lot of students, a lot of new immigrants, and
mm.
you get into this depression state after settling in Canada where they feel
Wow.
like this is not what I was thinking life would be like when I moved here. Some people left their high paying jobs, some people left their seven-figure businesses back home just to start all over here. And we all know it's not easy here. Then they
Mm,
come here and they start to realize that, oh my God, life is totally different here from what I expected. And it's
mm,
on different perspective. It's not just
mm,
in terms of finding jobs, because job is one of the significant things that newcomers expect to find when they land here.
mm,
There's job aspect, there's healthcare, there's taxes. There's so many things that we could talk about that
mm,
makes Canada become unappealing after you arrive here. But then most people back home would see it as though you are complaining, you're not grateful for what you have,
mhm,
proud, or you don't deserve Canada and all of these things. But the truth is
mm,
that I just feel like the reason why I made that video with my friend was
mm,
just to kind of touch on those things that the media don't tell us about Canada. For the
mhm,
most part, it's just to help people have a more precise expectation, like lower expectation about Canada. This is
mhm,
the reality of what it is. Then
mhm,
prepare yourself. Prepare
mhm,
yourself, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Because
mhm.
you don't want to come here and it seems like this is absolutely not what I wanted. Then you get
Mhm,
depressed and you fall into like a kind of
mhm.
mood that nobody can help you because this is literally not your father's country. So there's
Yes,
nobody that you can call tomorrow and say, hey, I need your help. Can you help me? Your parents are back home, your family are back home.
yes.
Everybody that could literally come to your aid, they're not here.
Mhm.
So
Not
you
here.
want to make sure that you have prepared your mind properly, you
Mm,
have set the right expectation, and you
mm,
know that no matter what happens, whenever it gets so crazy and you just can't anymore, just buy
mhm.
the next flight ticket and go back home. Home is where love is.
Yeah, I actually took some notes from your video, so maybe we can go through some of them.
Yeah,
One of the key factors that you highlight was building wealth is very hard in this country. Can you really talk about that a little bit and elaborate?
absolutely. In Canada, we pay one of the highest taxes across the world,
Mm-hmm,
and taxes is a very significant portion of your income. So if
mm-hmm,
you find out about people like Donald Trump's, all these top billionaires, quote unquote,
mm-hmm,
they have been able to avoid or evade taxes in some kind of way, and that is
mm-hmm,
why they are able to preserve their wealth. But
mm-hmm,
for average people like you and I, we don't have those like high value wealth management or team or advisors that would help you avoid all of these loopholes that you can
mm-hmm,
take advantage of in the tax systems.
mm-hmm,
And you just end up paying so much money in taxes. Like, what's the tax rate in Ontario for HST? 13%.
13%, yeah.
In Quebec, it's 15%. So literally, when you buy something worth of $100, that means you're paying additional 13% on top of that. That's
Mm-hmm,
and that is even after paying taxes on the income that you earned. So you're
mm-hmm,
getting double taxation there. You pay
yeah,
taxes on your income, you pay
yeah.
taxes on any purchases that you make.
Mm-hmm,
You literally want to do any service, you also
mm-hmm,
have to pay additional taxes.
mm-hmm,
And I know people would say, oh yes, we're getting value for the taxes, we're getting all of this healthcare and all these things for free. But
mm-hmm,
that seems very glamorizing or attractive when you're within the low income gap.
mm-hmm,
When you start to make a lot of money and you
mm-hmm,
start to pay 40%, 50% of your income in taxes, then
mm-hmm,
you start to become worried because you tell yourself, okay, so I've not even benefited from this system, quote unquote.
Right.
Why am I paying 50% of my income in taxes? There are people out there that would literally not work and be
Yeah.
on government benefits just because they know that somebody else like you and I that is paying these heavy taxes is
Mm-hmm.
funding the system for them. Not a lot of people will take advantage of those things. Most
Mm-hmm.
of us, we are, because we come from African countries, we are already built to work really, really, really hard. All
Mm-hmm.
the people that I see in Canada that are the most hardworking set of people, they're
Mm.
African.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
hardworking people. They put in their best in everything they do on the
Mm-hmm.
job, in school, in any area of their career. They're doing fantastic. Then
Mm-hmm.
we come here, work so hard, and we grow in our career. Then we start to pay 50% of the income in taxes, 40% of the income in
Yeah.
taxes. It
Yeah.
doesn't stop there. You still have to pay 13% on taxes. You try to
Mm.
buy a property, there's property tax, there's municipal tax if you want to buy property
Yeah.
in Ontario. So tax is just literally taking a huge portion of all of your income,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not able to build wealth based on that because you're paying a lot of portion of your income in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They would say they give you RSP contribution loans. That's like how many? RSP is literally 18 or 21% of your income.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
enough room. That's not
Yeah.
enough room.
Mm-hmm.
And for so long we continue to contribute into the system that we might not never take advantage of. And it
Mm.
wouldn't worry you when you're still within the low income gap because you feel like yes, you're benefiting from it in some point.
Right.
But when you start to make more money, your household income is higher, you
Mm-hmm.
can't benefit from the child care benefit anymore, you're not
Mm-hmm.
getting support from the government anymore. You start to
Mm.
ask yourself, why am I paying so much in taxes if I can't get the benefit back? And even
Yeah.
the healthcare system that we feel like, oh, these heavy taxes is funding, the
Mm-hmm.
healthcare system is not even particularly available. It's not easily accessible. You
Mm-hmm.
would spend hours in the waiting room to get to see a doctor. So it's like, okay, so what am I paying for at this point in
Yes.
time? So
Wow. It can be very frustrating, really. And I can really side with you. And I think that was the second question that I have with the healthcare. But let's talk a little bit about the high living costs because I found that very, very interesting from your video. From the time that you moved in 4 years ago up till now, can you talk a little bit about the high cost of living in Canada and especially the new immigrants coming in? Can you touch a little bit on that?
absolutely, I can for sure. Cost of living in Canada is insane.
Why?
We pay one of the highest cost for food plan. I was
Wow.
speaking to my friend from the Europe, and he said from Ireland rather, and he said the
Mm,
cost of his phone bill is less than £30, and he
yeah.
gets unlimited data for his phone.
Mm, mm,
And in Canada, for that for $30, you probably get like 10 gigabytes of data, and it's
yes.
like why? So he was asking why is data so expensive in Canada? I said, I don't know. I'm not asking. It's literally crazy. You can literally go online and you find any information about countries paying the highest cost for
Mhm,
phone plan, and Canada is listed one of the top on the
mhm,
list. It's ridiculous. And that's just
mhm,
for phone plans. Then let's move to housing because housing is one of the major part of like your monthly expenses.
mhm,
Why is it that cost of a house in Niagara, Ontario, is more expensive than cost of a house in Buffalo, Niagara? Like it's
mhm.
literally the same Niagara region. It's
Yeah.
less than 30 minutes drive from one another. Why is
Yeah.
the housing cost in Canada side over $1 million, and in the US side it's like $250,000? Why?
Mhm,
What's the extra value that is here? I just feel
mhm,
like most of the pricing are just inflated and overpriced. But
mhm,
then what choice do you have? You just have to pay. It's like you don't have any other alternative. Because
mhm,
even when you have the money, the
mhm.
competition to get those houses or apartments is really, really insane. So
Yeah.
you find people bidding extra amounts of money just so
Mhm,
that they can get the property or the house that they're trying to rent. And
mhm,
it's because the competition is high. But
mhm,
then what's the extra value that you're getting from getting that property? Nothing.
mhm, mhm,
Nothing. Literally
mhm.
nothing. The cost of living from 2019 when I came here till now is through the roof, like crazy.
Wow.
Inflation rate this year alone is almost at 6%. I know
Wow.
that there's recession all over the world.
Mhm,
Cost prices of things have gone up. But why
mhm,
is it that we are feeling the impact a lot more here than
mhm,
other places in the world? Why is that? Why is
mhm,
it that people cannot, they are making so much money, but they can't afford to buy a house?
mhm,
What's the reason?
mhm.
I feel like the government just isn't putting in enough structures in place. We've
Right.
had some people that are foreign investors taking over the real estate markets in Ontario and
Mhm,
in Canada as a whole, and
Mm-hmm.
they have abused this to the point where even the people that are living here, residing here, can no
Right.
longer afford to buy a home. And that's
Mm-hmm.
insane because if you're living somewhere, you would
Mm-hmm.
expect to be able to put a roof over your head, live
Right.
there, build something for your family and for your
Mm-hmm.
kids to call a home. But
Mm-hmm.
we find that not a lot of people can do that. People are just going
Yeah.
to almost rent into forever. A lot of people cannot even afford to buy a home in Canada. Some of them would never get to buy a home. And it's not like
Wow.
I'm trying to say anything like cursing them or something. No, it's just the
Yeah.
reality of the situation because how much money do people earn here? The average
Mm.
income in Canada is $60,000 a year.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So how would you be able to afford to buy a home that is $800,000? And I know someone out there would say, "Oh, move out of Ontario. Ontario is the reason." So to
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
are the jobs in other provinces? There are no jobs there. The
Mm-hmm.
reason most people are in Ontario, the reason most immigrants moved here is
Mm-hmm.
because there are more job opportunities here. Even blue collar job, white collar job, there are more job opportunities here that would help them earn a living. But if you
Mm-hmm.
ask them to move somewhere else just because they want to be able to afford buying a home, how would
Mm-hmm.
they be able to finance paying for that property
Mm-hmm.
since they don't have jobs? So it's just crazy. It's like, yes, you're asking me to give a trade off, but what am
Mm-hmm.
I getting back in return? Nothing.
Wow, wow, wow. Are you fed up? Are you fed up about Canada?
No, I mean, I love it here. I love it here. I'm not going to say I don't love Canada,
Yes.
but these
Mm-hmm.
are just things that people do not talk about. And I feel
Yes.
like there
Mm-hmm.
has to be that one person that is willing to talk about it and say the truth.
Yes.
And if I'm going to be that person, I don't mind because
Yeah.
I really, nobody's paying me to say anything. I'm saying
Yeah.
it how I feel. And
Yes.
people should be open to hearing other people's perspective about certain topics. This is how
Mm-hmm.
I feel about it. It shouldn't stop
Yeah.
me from, because I live here, because I'm a citizen, it shouldn't stop me from saying how I
Yeah.
feel about life in Canada. Same thing
Yeah.
about my home country. There's a lot of things, crazy things going on there. It wouldn't stop me, just because I'm Nigerian, it wouldn't stop me from saying all of the
Yeah.
things that I know that are not working right in the country. So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'm not fed. I wouldn't say I'm fed up about Canada, but things could be
Mm.
better, and
Be better.
people could have the right expectation and knowledge about Canada because
Mm-hmm.
the media just paint it to be the perfect country, and it's not.
Yes. It's not. It's not. Good. 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 Let's talk about also. You talk about homesick. Also, the boring lifestyle in Canada. Can you touch a little bit on it since you've been here for 4 years? Talk about the homesickness and also the boring lifestyle in Canada.
Of course, of course. Homesickness is definitely something a lot of new immigrants battle with,
Mm.
especially when they are in that stage of settling into Canada.
Mm-hmm.
You come here, everybody's uptight. People are not trying to be friends with you.
Right.
You take public bus. It's like everybody's on their phone. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
even looking through your way. So it's like you are not even able to interact with people or make friends.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start to think about your friends back home because you're watching their social media and you're seeing them out partying, even though they don't have money. Even if it's just one bottle of beer they can afford, they don't mind. They will sit down with themselves, have the best time of their life, have fun,
Yeah.
but you are
Yeah.
just out here in the cold on your way to work by 9 p.m. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, whatever. What is this with my life? You're so bored, lonely, and
Mm-hmm.
people start to get depressed because they
Mm-hmm.
don't have friends. And it's really hard for people that move here as an adult. Because if you're still a
Mm-hmm.
child or much
Mm-hmm.
younger, you go to
Yeah.
school, you make friends, and you start to build a community that way. But
Yeah.
people that move here as adults, it's like a lot harder because adult friendships are way harder than
Yeah.
like for kids. So you want to be intentional about the kind of friends you're making. You also
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure you're keeping in touch with people, but then you also are not sure if this energy would be reciprocated from
Mm-hmm.
whoever it is that you are meeting. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
everything is just happening at the same time and you don't know what to do. So I
Yeah.
find a lot of new immigrants when they move here, they struggle with making friends, building a community,
Mm-hmm.
even finding just a roommate sometimes is very, very hard because people don't want
Mm-hmm.
to live with random strangers. But
Yeah.
then they try to find just one person that at least we can have a little bit of connection on, they still
Mm-hmm.
can't find. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just very, very hard.
Very hard. Yeah. Yeah. But you have any tips for new immigrants though? How to navigate through
For
this
me,
boring life and sickness?
what worked for me is through social media. I connected with a lot of people on social media. I joined WhatsApp groups, Telegram
Mm-hmm.
groups. I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
use Facebook groups as much, but then I know that there are Facebook groups that help people integrate with
Mm-hmm.
the community like theirs. So also, if you're in school, you want to find community in school, even if it's in church, mosque, any
Yeah.
religion organization that you belong to, try to
Mm-hmm.
find a group that you can be a part
Mm-hmm.
of. That would kind of help you integrate slowly, slowly. I'm not saying to be easy, but at
Mm-hmm.
least it's way better than you just being out there by yourself. Because sometimes I find
Mm-hmm.
that information is power in this country. If you don't
Yes.
have access to the right information, then your life in Canada can go from all the way to from the top to the bottom. But
Yeah.
if you have just that one friend that can tell you something about
Mm-hmm.
how to take advantage of the
Mm-hmm.
system or anything it is, then you
Mm-hmm.
would find that you are progressing really far in Canada. But if you
Mm-hmm.
don't even have friends, how do you even get the information in the first place? And it's not
Yeah.
everything that you have access to online. Some things you just need
Mm-hmm.
someone to tell you because you don't even know that you should be researching about this thing. So if you don't
Mm-hmm.
know that you should make findings about it, how do you come about that information? But then you
Mm-hmm.
could just hear a friend tell you, oh, there's a job fair downtown Toronto on
Mm-hmm.
Young Street. Just go there on Wednesdays. They're always there. You submit your resume. Boom, you went there the next day, you submitted your resume and you got a job. But if you don't have that one friend to tell you about it, how do you find out? You don't find out. So
True.
yeah, those are some of the ways that I would say people can make build a community, make connections, and definitely be open to keeping in touch. I find that a lot of adults, when we
Mm-hmm.
make new friends, we are finding it, we are almost not going to keep in touch. Most times it's like you want to keep your personal space and you want to respect other people's boundaries. But there's also the part where at least just try a little bit. Let it be that you put in some effort and they are
Right.
not returning the energy to you. Then you
Mm-hmm.
can let them go, but just try. Just try because
Right.
you're the one in lead here. You don't want to get bored, lonely, and depressed.
Right, 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 right,
Yeah.
right, right. Well, I also you talked about the Canadian passports in your video, and I think I'm gonna flip this on you a little bit though. What are some of the benefit though to having these Canadian passports? Because currently you have it now.
Of course, yes, there are definitely a lot of benefits when it comes to
Yes.
when you have your Canadian passport for sure. I traveled like a few days ago and
Yeah.
just went through airport security like nobody cares, nobody will take a look at me. But when I was traveling with my green Nigerian passport, it's like you get asked all of these questions. So how long are you staying? What are you doing here? All of these things. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not even planning to run away. What do I want to do in this country? I'm just here to enjoy my vacation and go back home. But
Yes.
when you're traveling with a Canadian passport, there's this kind of respect that you
Mm-hmm.
get. There's this kind of privilege treatment that you get with that passport.
Mm-hmm.
And you just wouldn't know until you actually have it. You wouldn't know what it feels like until you actually have it and you experience it.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Wow.
definitely
So
a privilege.
from the sound of it, there is also the good side to Canada. I don't know if you want to touch a little bit on it though.
Of
Some
course.
of the good stuff you have experienced so far.
Yes, of course. Of course. There is a lot of good things. There are a lot of good things I should say about life in Canada. Canada is not bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere near bad.
Mm-hmm.
I just talk about those things that I was disappointed about Canada, but it
Right.
doesn't mean that I've not seen things that made me impressed and made me
Mm-hmm.
happy that okay, yes, I'm glad to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the crime rate in Canada right now is really high, but
Mm-hmm.
it still feels relatively safe compared to some other countries around the
Mm-hmm.
world. Even my home country, it still feels a lot safer here. We
Mm-hmm.
have a system that works as well.
Mm-hmm.
You call 911, there is an emergency, and they would show up. You call
Yes.
the fire services, they would show up. All of these things
Yes.
are systems that are working in place. For some people that come from countries, again, like I said earlier, Canada would not be appealing to those from European countries. It would only be
Mm-hmm.
appealing to those from third world countries because we don't have those things in place where we came from.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell someone that 911 is working and they're from the US, they would ask you like, so why shouldn't 911 work? It should
Mm-hmm.
work. It's an emergency service. But for
Mm-hmm.
us back home, we know that oh, we never had this. So having this is really like okay, yes, this
Yeah.
makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy, and it makes
Mm-hmm.
me still feel safe. Then
Mm-hmm.
apart from that, there is also a lot of opportunities here.
Mm-hmm.
Job wise, I know that it's not always easy to find a good job or a high paying job here, but the fact that you can still find anything else to do
Mm-hmm.
to make a living and
Mm-hmm.
it's still something that people would respect you for
Mm-hmm.
is very amazing. In back
Mm-hmm.
home, you can't tell somebody that oh, I work in a factory or I'm a dishwasher. They would look at you like, is that what you do for a job? But here in
Right.
Canada, if you tell someone that's what you do for a living, nobody
Yeah.
is judging you. Nobody cares. They just respect that. That's how you earn your living. Is
Right.
respected. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
earning your a decent living, and there are other ways to make money apart from working a job. There are like things like the gig economy, Uber Eats, DoorDash, all of those things that
Hmm.
people do to make extra income. So it's like you cannot be flat out
Hmm.
of income or out of options in Canada.
Hmm.
Whereas
Hmm.
back home, we know that I don't know what the unemployment rate in Ghana is like, but I know in Nigeria it's super high. A lot of people graduate from school and they
Yeah.
just cannot find jobs for several years.
Yes.
Whereas here, at least you still find something.
And some
It might
job.
not be it might not be the dream job that you've always wanted as a child, but you
Hmm.
would still find something that would help you earn a living. So
Yes.
there's that side that is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. 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 Speaking of that, I know you mentioned Nigeria. What is your plans now for Nigeria? Now you have lived here for 4 years. Do you have any plans of relocating back home or at least bringing all the knowledge you have acquired in Canada at some point in your life to Nigeria?
Definitely at some point I would love to go back home to build like businesses that I know that would be very competitive on global standards. I would
Mhm.
love to bring the knowledge that I've learned, the professional experience that I've gained here, and
Mhm.
grow my country for a fact.
Mhm.
Because I hope to have a family one day.
Mhm.
I'm not totally sure that having my kids in
Mhm.
Nigeria would be the best place. Of course, they
Mhm.
will go back home because they have to be Nigerians first before Canadians.
Yes, 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 yes.
They have to remember that they are Nigerians first. They will go back home, have fun, connect
Mm,
with people, connect with the culture, learn more about
mm,
their environment, their
mm,
home, and their
mm,
language.
mm,
But just because of all of these other benefits that we have mentioned that Canada definitely presents to them, I would love to
mhm,
have them here. But definitely, I wouldn't be detaching totally from my home country because, again, home is
mhm.
where love is. So, no bad
Yes,
as a bad, you can always know that, yes, there are people that there is somewhere that you can always fall back on, and that is where we
mhm.
call home.
Excellent, excellent. And knowing what you know now, would you still advise individuals living in other countries to migrate to Canada? Seeing both sides of good and bad, would you still strongly advise people to move to Canada?
Absolutely, I will. I will just tell you to come prepared, have the right
Mhm,
expectation,
mhm,
prepare yourself financially as well. So
mhm,
get as much savings that you can get from back home. If you
mhm,
have a business, don't totally quit it or don't close it down. Still
mhm,
have someone running it for you or a family member, I would say.
mhm,
If you had a job, if you can take maybe a study leave or sabbatical, do that. Then you try to come to Canada and see if you can like it here because not a lot of people like it here. That's also another thing. I've seen
mhm,
people come here. I had like a couple, like two or three friends that came from India and they
mhm,
settled here and they're like, no, they hate it here in Canada. They just cannot. One of them tried to stay here for like a year and a half and he just
mhm,
couldn't cope and he had to go back home.
mhm,
He couldn't wrap his head around the system and he had to go back. So yeah,
mhm,
so it's not always going to be the perfect place for everyone, but
mhm,
if it's something that you want to consider, definitely go for it.
mhm,
Keep your options open and keep your mind open
mhm,
because it's not all roses and sunshine here. It's
mhm.
really really hard. Prepare
Yeah.
your mind for sure. Hope for the best, but
Mhm,
prepare for the worst as well. If you
mhm,
do have a high paying job right now, this
mhm,
moment, 2023 October, I wouldn't advise for you to quit the job and come to Canada and start looking for a new job. What you
mhm,
can do is apply for your residency or something that would help you to start applying for jobs in Canada. Then when
mhm.
you find that job, you can now move.
Yeah.
Or you can take a sabbatical from work, take a vacation on paid leave, just
Mhm,
to test the waters and see how life is in Canada. If you find
mhm,
a job early on, then you
mhm,
can move. Or if you have a family, you can one of the spouse and the kids can move first, the other spouse
mhm,
stays back home, and you
mhm,
try to see how you're settling in Canada, then the other person can join later.
mhm.
Because it's a lot harder if everybody takes themselves and they
Yeah.
go and they all have to start and one person is sad, one person is crying. There's nobody. You can't be sad and I'm also sad. We need somebody
Yeah.
that is going to be there to just give
Yes.
a bit of motivation, you know.
Yeah.
So and that's where if you have a spouse and they're still supporting you from back home, that's where
Mhm,
they'll come helpful and handy. So that would
mhm.
be my advice for anyone considering moving to Canada. I will not tell you that do not move or it's not worth it.
Yes.
It's definitely worth it. If you're able
Yeah.
to get your Canadian passport, it comes with a lot of privilege and
Yes.
you should definitely go for it if it's an option on the table for you.
Excellent. Excellent. And just wrapping up the interview, what would be your last word to your audience and my audience and anybody watching the Waste Queen?
My last words for you would be to go for anything that you really want to do in your life. Do
Mhm,
not let anything stop you.
mhm,
Think about the reason why you want to do something. What I
mhm,
always do for myself is sometimes when I'm going through challenges and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure, I ask
mhm,
myself that 3 years from now, will I be happy with the decision that I made? If I feel like yes, I'll be happy with that decision, then I'll go for it. If I feel like I'm not sure, I would still go for it because I don't want to live with the regrets of what if. So I'll
mhm,
still go for it. So if it's something that you really want for yourself, go
mhm,
for it, pursue it, and hope for the best.
mhm.
That'll be my final words.
Excellent. And would you mind sharing your social media handles if anybody would like to follow you and
Yes,
your journey so far?
yes, my name is Queen on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. It's the same name, Queen.
Yeah, so make sure you subscribe to our sister's channel also. She has a very, very great content there from Nigeria and also in Canada and just life in general. So make sure you also subscribe. Wiz Queen, thank you so much for your time. And I really, really appreciate you coming to this platform. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.